Well, it's been 9 months since I've upgraded my home surveillance system, which is honestly 8 months too long. Luckily, Reolink sent me over a few cameras to try out, some of which are a direct upgrade to what I'm already running. So if you haven't seen my previous 2 videos on my Reolink setup, then I'll link them down below. But to quickly go over what I'm running now, I've got their 8-port NVR recording 5 different cameras. A PTZ Globe Cam for the front, a 180-degree Duo 2 for the side yard, a regular old bullet cam for the back, a wireless solar powered cam for the other side, and a little indoor PTZ camera for the server room. Honestly, I'm happy with this setup, but that doesn't mean there's not room for improvement. So what we have here are 3 new cameras. Some newer than others, but I've never tried them, so they're all new to me. The first one here is essentially a direct upgrade to my Duo 2, and it is the Duo 3. There are 2 main upgrades you get when going from the 2 to the 3. The big one being a huge jump in resolution. On the Duo 2, you basically had 2 images stitched together to give you a single 8 megapixel 4K image. On the Duo 3 though, you get 2 individual 4K images that when stitched together give you a 16 megapixel image with a resolution of 7680 by 2160, which is literally like 2 4K screens pushed together. The other upgrade you get is a jump from IP66 weather resistance to IP67, which doesn't really sound like a lot, but when you're talking about something that's out in the elements 24/7, that can make a big difference to the longevity of the device. Other than that, everything else is essentially the same. You get a spotlight, 2-way audio, and oh wait, this one can detect all animals, not just your pet. As for the price, at the time making this video, there's about an $80 difference. Is it worth it though? I guess we'll find out. Moving on, I have 2 bullet cameras here that I guess are designed for 2 different things. The first one is going to be your more generic version in the RLC 1212A. If we compare this to the RLC 510A that I'm currently running, you'll see quite a few differences. Most notably the resolution, getting a nice bump from 5 megapixels to 12 megapixels, giving us a higher resolution than standard 4K. You'll notice though that the frame rate is lower. I'm wondering if that's only at super high resolution or if I can switch to a higher FPS at some lower resolution. Honestly though, does 30 FPS versus 20 FPS really matter in a security camera? I guess we'll see. Some other things you have to note is that with the 1212 we get a slightly better field of view, a spotlight for colored night vision, 2-way audio with a mic, and the updated animal detection. This comes in at nearly double the price at $90. The other camera we have here is the CX410, which is essentially designed for low light situations. The resolution is actually worse at just 4 megapixels, but we do get the updated 2-way audio and animal detection. The updated low light performance is something they call Color X, which essentially means they've just put a larger aperture lens in here, which opens up wider to let in more light. If you're a camera nerd, then you get it, but if not, it's kind of a big deal. But is this low light performance worth the hit in resolution? Only one way to find out. So obviously, I'll be replacing the Duo 2 with the Duo 3 and my backyard bullet camera with one of these, which though has yet to be determined. Let's go swap these out. One thing I wish Reolink would update is their mounting style. I hate that I can't just swap out a similar camera without having to completely take off the mount. The Duo isn't bad since you can take the camera off the mount, but their bullet cams are the absolute worst. Anyway, I've been using these cameras for a few weeks now, and long story short, they're good. The Duo 3 gives you that bump in resolution that is nice, but not super noticeable until zooming in. In low light situations, the Duo 3 performs about as expected with decent IR performance and gives you a motion activated spotlight to increase clarity. The same goes for the RLC 1212 over the 510 that I had before. I'd say that the bump in resolution is even more noticeable here. I did mention that I'd like to see if you can up the FPS on a lower resolution, but you can't. Although I don't know that it's really noticeable going from 30 to 20. I also get a spotlight now on the 12-12 that I didn't have on the 510, which seems to be a double-edged sword. For some reason, it just loves to turn on even though I don't really see any motion. I adjusted the detection zone to avoid the ceiling fans, but it still wanted to shine on something, I don't know, maybe ghosts? I was excited to see how the CX14 unit compared, especially during low light. And holy moly, when I first brought up the live stream at around 11 p.m., it looked like it was late afternoon. With only the minimal spotlight shining, the CX410 produced a daytime looking image. This isn't perfect though. I know this camera has a larger aperture to let more light in, but I assume that they're also cranking the ISO and lowering the frame rate to increase the amount of light, which doesn't really lend itself to a crystal clear image, especially when moving objects are involved. I'd say if you don't necessarily need the clarity of the RLC 1212 and want that colored night vision without the blinding spotlight, then the CX410 is decent. I'd like to try out the CX810, which maybe isn't released yet, but I saw it at CES and it's basically an upgraded CX410. I'll obviously be sticking with the Duo 3 since there isn't really any reason not to, and for the backyard, I'll be going with the RLC 1212, but I'll either turn the spotlight off or try to adjust the motion detection some more because it's kind of annoying. I did also want to share an update I made recently to my recording process during this whole fiesta. I mentioned that I store all of my recordings on my Reolink NVR. However, that only has a single drive, so if that drive fails and I need a recording, I'm shit out of luck. Fortunately, Reolink gives you the option to also record directly to an FTP server, which can act as a backup, or primary if you want to skip the NVR altogether. I set up an FTP server on my Synology system, and then I had my front, side, and backyard cameras configured to record there only when motion is detected. It will automatically build the folder structure to break down your recordings by year, month, and day, and from there you can see all the clips for a single day. I have mine set to only record on person detection as well, since I don't really care to have like a zillion clips of birds or dogs taking up valuable NAS space. And this really doesn't have anything to do with these cameras, but I just wanted to share that. Alright, so what do I recommend after all of this? Honestly, I was pretty fine with my old setup with the Duo 3 and the RLC 510A. I can't deny that the Duo 3 and the RLC 1212 are better cameras because they are, but I wouldn't necessarily spend the money to upgrade if you already have a similar setup as I did. Now, if you are building out a new system, then yeah, definitely go with the RLC 1212 cameras. The bump in resolution as well as the spotlight are worth it. As for the Duos, honestly, I'd probably still go with the Duo 2 for the price. $80 is a lot of money for what I think is an upgrade that a lot of people probably won't even notice. If you're a resolution snob and just want the best quality, then yeah, go for the Duo 3. It's still a freaking awesome camera, but I'm a man of the people, and sometimes that means I have to speak with my wallet. The CX410 is cool and all, but I'm not entirely sure what it provides that other spotlight cameras don't. Maybe in situations where you need colored night vision while also being more subtle, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I think the CX810 will be a more compelling option since you won't have to sacrifice as much clarity, but we'll try that out if Reolink decides to throw one at me. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. All of the cameras I mentioned are listed down below using my affiliate links, so be sure to use those if you want to snag any of these. If you like the video, then drop a like, subscribe if you want to see more. I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube members and my Patreons. You guys are my 180-degree PoE powered camera attached to my wall. Y'all are the best. And if you're still watching, you're 20 FPS. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.